first, let me emphasize that embryonic research is not against the law. There's a couple myths out there. One of them is that embryonic stem cell research is against the law. In reality, there is no law or regulation against destroying human embryos for research purposes. While President Bush has banned the use of federal funding to support research on embryonic stem cell lines created after August 2001, it is not illegal. Anyone using private funds is free to pursue it. So before before Bush banned federal funding, there was a law called, there was an amendment called the Dickey Amendment. This was passed in '96, and it was a bill rider, which means that it was kind of slipped in under another act, under an act of Department of Health and Human Services Act. And this amendment says that none of the funds made available in this act may be used for the creation of human embryos or embryos for research purposes, or 2, research in which a human embryo or embryos are destroyed, discarded, or knowingly subjected to risk of injury or death greater than that allowed for researchers fetus research. So there was a lot saying this amendment was not for or against making embryos. It was kind of to not take sides, to either create them or make them, or destroy them. So, while in the Clinton administration, they found a loophole in this amendment. According to their President's Council on Bioethics, in 2008, a legal finding by the General Counsel of the Department of Human and Health Services under the President Clinton argued that the wording of the law might allow for a loophole by which human embryonic stem cells research could be funded if embryos was first destroyed with private funds, then subsequently research employing the derived embryo cells might be considered eligible for funding. Because such research would require no new embryo destruction, the department's lawyers suggested that the legal requirement not to fund research in which embryos were destroyed would still technologically be obeyed. So under Clinton, they were able to research them, because they were destroyed, the embryo was destroyed using private funds, not federal funds. So currently there's a list on the website of the lines that are available to shipment right now. There's about 10 lines right now, or 7 that are available to ship now. So there is lines out there that are ready to ship and for people to use. And they have since my opponent said that because of that law, they're starting to do research on adult stem cells, and that I don't see a problem with that, because adult stem cells are better controlled, since they normally differentiate into a narrow set of all cell types, directing them to a desired phase is easier. And this funding restriction has actually called it a stem cell revolution, since President George W. Bush restrictions of federal funding for embryonic stem cell research in 2001 actually galvanized scientific advance. A flood of state and private funding followed. Researchers broadened their hunt for alternative sources of stem cells in competition to fund the most promising, and potentially more profitable was increased due to the ban on funding. This has also spurred up funding for universities. The Harvard University is now seeking $100 million in private funding. The University of California announced that the establishment of the Institute of Stem Cell Biological and Medical with $20 million in funding over the next 5 years, and Stanford announced that the creation of a $120 million Institute for Cancer Stem Cell Biological and Medicine in 2002. And it says also there's a lot of private funding out there for this for research. For example, the STAR Foundation is providing $50 million over 3 years for human embryonic stem cell research at the 3 New York City Medicine Institutes, and former Intel CEO Andy Grove gave the University of California and San Francisco a matching grant of $5 million to start its development in stem cell biological program. In 2001, an anonymous donor gave Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore a $58.5 million gift to launch an Institute for Cell Engineering. And there are actually a willingness out there to donate embryos that are not being used. In a survey done through the Science, in a 2007 study published in the Science magazine, surveyed infertility patients who have embryos stored at fertility clinics. They found that 60% of the patients expressed willingness to donate embryos for the stem cell research, compared to 28% who were willing to donate used embryos to other patients seeking fertility treatment. So there is people out there who are more willing to donate their embryos to stem cell research than to other people to make babies, I guess. And there is a controversy out there that where human life begins at conception, whether or not. And embryonic stem cells are essential for life. That's why there's a lot of people are making such a big deal out of it. Embryonic stem cells always morally objectable because the human embryo must be destroyed in order to harvest stem cells. And at every stage of development, human beings, whether it's zygote, blastocyte, embryo, fetus, infant, adult, and adult, retain their identity as an enduring being that grows towards its subsequent stages. And having the feds make the guidelines is actually a good thing because they use scientific advisors and panels to help them decide which research projects they should pursue, which are the better ones.